time for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. The wait is over. That's right. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the first of Cleveland's major sports teams to end the mother of all droughts by winning over the Golden State Warriors the 2016 NBA championship. And I got to tell you, I honestly never thought I'd see a championship from the major sports team in this town in my life or in my lifetime. I am still in shock. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say I was a big detractor of this team, and more importantly, LeBron James. But here's why. For all of you all who know me, and for those of you who don't, you're about to find out exactly why. I am not a fan of the Today BA. You all have heard me call it that more than once, or say that about the NBA today on more than one occasion. Because as a traditionalist, as a purist, I'm not going to apologize for being either or both. The style of play in the Today BA is disheartening at times to watch for somebody like myself who's a purist and a traditionalist of the game. It's the fabric of that I see so absent in the style of play from most teams. It's hard to watch, which is why I've taken the emotion out of it years ago. And I'm strictly now watching from an analyst's perspective or analyst's point of view. And I commentate on it as such. I've said it before. When I was 10, it was okay to be all up into my feelings. But now that I'm 30-some odd years down the road, man, look here. They don't mess up my Mondays, win or lose. I go get up and feed my kids. And that's just the way it is for me. So at the end of the day, I'm not or wasn't on the bandwagons, and I'm not about to jump on it now. But as a realist, a purist, a traditionalist, I can tell you this Cavs team earned it. I said at the beginning of the season, the Cavs had a championship roster, but their style of play was not conducive to winning a title. Well, guess what? When it mattered most, their style of play conducified an NBA championship. Can't argue with that. Not one iota. At the end of the day, what made this title and the style of play so conducive was that the analytics finally and the stat lines finally were substantive. Because there have oftentimes been games where you see a stat line and folks mention the stat line. I mean, again, you've all heard me talk about analytics. I'm not a fan of them when people try to use it to explain or tell the story in its entirety. Because sometimes the analytics don't always tell you or don't always show the substance or don't always match the eye test. That's my biggest caveat with today's sports, period. But basketball in particular, because I'm, again, a purist. But in this case, they shook out. For instance, when I talk about stats and how they don't match the substance, I'm going to use the NFL as an analogy. How often do you hear former First Take co-host Skip Bayless mention Tony Romo and the QBR rating? Well, in 2014, Tony Romo's QBR rating was 83.62. But his playoff record is 2-4. And he never made it out of the divisional round. But that's all you hear. His QBR rating. And that's all you hear in his QBR rating. The QBR rating. QBR rating. Like that's supposed to make him some sort of top 5 or top tier NFL quarterback or top tier type player. No. The numbers say yeah, statistically. But in actuality, it's saying So all year long, I watched this Cavs team shoot lights out from 3, but it didn't seem to be anything else other than that. It was feast or famine, which ultimately doomed the Warriors. This 3-point shot. So many of today's NBA players play the game facing the basket without so much as little as a show of your back to the basket. You have to have it. How often have you all heard me say on this thing here, man? When it comes to basketball, I don't care how well you shoot the 3, how pretty it is, and what kind of moniker and name you want to put on it, splash this, splash that. I get it. From a number standpoint, it's all legit. But the game says inside out would win you more than not. Now, for all you analytic folk out there, go check that. Go look that up and tell me how many teams, regardless of the level, have won more versus losing, or how many have won more versus losses, however you want to say that. Yeah, when it came to playing the game in a manner in which you make winning plays, which ultimately is what the Cavs did. They made winning plays, not the sexy plays. The sexy plays are nice for conversation, but at the end of the day, they lose you more than they win you more. Did I say that right? Who cares? You win more by doing it the substantive way than you do the sexy way. How about that? Let me say it that way. The Cavs shot 45.8% in the paint. In Game 7 alone, they out-rebounded the Warriors. They outscored the Warriors points in the paint 48-28, if I'm not mistaken. That's a translatable. Why do I call it a translatable? Because a lot of times you'll see teams in the regular season, because they feasting on bottom feeders and so on and so forth, and, they get out to these fantastic records, like the Raptors, for instance. They were 56 and 26 and third, or whatever it is, and fourth in the East, or whatever the case may be. And you think, wow, yeah, so people going solely based off the record and what they do from 3 and all of this sexy, it's not good enough for me. You have to beat teams up on the interior. And to be honest, the Cavs were doing that last year without Love and Irving. That's how they got out to that 2-1 lead. By punishing Golden State's front line. Now, in this particular instance, was Bogut's absence that big a factor? We'll get into that a little bit later. But I don't really think so. Because when you play inside out, you open up the exterior in a fashion in which it cannot be guarded or it's undefensible. Going back to the NFL right quick. It's called a pass-happy league nowadays. I get it. Or this wildcat run and shoot. I get it. Or read option. That's all fancy. Wow, gimmicky. But the teams who win are the teams that steady, who understand that you have to have a running game. That's what the inside is in basketball or to football, is the running game. I don't care how sexy this game today is being played and so on, and how sexy folks want it to be and tell a story. No. You got to go back to the fabric of. That's why I say when I talk about the Spurs, it's not the Spurs having a system. Greg Popovich's system. Yeah, that's all nice and fun to talk about. No, it's not a system. It's a simple is what it is. Pass and cut. Read the defense. Take what they give you. The Cavs not only shot 45.8% in the paint, but 13.1% from mid-range, compared to 9.2% for Golden State. Get in the middle. What's the old adage when it comes to basketball about going in the middle? Or running some type of offense or some type of set, whether it's half court or on transition. Get in the middle. Because in the middle, it collapses the defense. I don't care who you are. It collapses the defense like an umbrella in a strong wind. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And believe it or not, whatever the Cavs were during the regular season in the first portion of this playoffs or this postseason in terms of what they shot from the three-point line, a blazing 40-something, 60-something, 50-something, whatever the percentage was, it was astronomical. I mean, they even set an NBA record, if I'm not mistaken, 25 straight three or 25 made threes, whatever. It was astronomical. They were the exact opposite in this finals. 23.9% from three. Hello? Again, I know the three ball is sexy and everybody has to do it. But when you start doing that more than all of the other stuff, the wheels are bound to come off. And for the Warriors, they ain't just come off. The Cavs broke them training wheels and then pushed the Warriors off the bike and then took the bike. The Warriors, on the other hand, shot 40.3% from three and 34.9% in the paint. Now you do the math. That's right, M-A-F-F, math. You tell me. You have to go and eat on the inside. The Cavs totally flipped the script on their style of play. And to me, it all started with the insertion of Richard Jefferson, who, by the way, has finals experience some years ago playing with the Nets when they were New Jersey. Now, you look at his point production, it's paltry, not even worth mentioning, which is why I won't. But it wasn't the point production from Jefferson that ignited something in the Cavs that I hadn't seen all season. It was his determination. He had made his mind up that he was going to the rack right off the back. Hit the road, Jack. Right away, the first play he got in the game, man, he went straight to the rim. Attack, attack, attack. And to me, when he did that, that kind of set the tone. Even though LeBron and Kyrie was doing their thing, you know, from a sexy standpoint, from an eye test, from a SportsCenter top 10 standpoint, Jefferson went and did some nuance, nuts and bolts. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. I don't care how sweet that car look in your driveway, that Porsche 911 Carrera GT 4877. It looks sweet, got a motor out this, all of that. But you need the key in order for it to suck a move. Get it? All that horsepower, all that car, all that fanciness, all that girth, all that this and that. Yeah, but it ain't going nowhere without that little key. And that's what Jefferson provided. Just that little key. Get in the middle. Stop living outside. Since when did a high percentage shot become a bad thing in basketball, in particular the NBA, or as I like to call it, the Today BA, or the NBJA, National Basketball Jump Shot Association? the Cavs won this in large part due to a collective effort. I've long since said, this town and the teams, the majors in this town, do far better when the collective is an effort as opposed to individualism. There were some timely shots hit on the part of Kyrie. And this was a LeBron James I did not see, at least since the Detroit Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace Pistons, when he exploded for 65,000 points in the fourth quarter. Even though he had won 2 titles in Miami and been there to made 47 finals appearances in 15 minutes, I still substantively did not see the guy that I saw this finals. Well, not even this finals, because again, let's be honest, the Warriors were up 3-1. But from game 5 on, I saw a different type of dude. The same kind of guy who had made his mind up that the alternative, not winning a title in Cleveland this year, wasn't going to be good. So he said, look here. Win or lose, I'm leaving it all out there. As a hooper, a competitor, a true hooper, you can't argue with that. And in looking at it from the Warriors' standpoint in the middle, just how big a factor was Bogut's absence? It's hard to say, because the one statistic that you could look at or point at that might play in favor of, or should I say might favor one way or the other, is the points in the paint. But for the most part, on the offensive side of things, Bogut wasn't really no factor for Golden State, really, on the interior in terms of points. What was it, at 5 or 6, at 7'11", you know what I mean? But then on the flip side, you look at it from the Cavs standpoint, he did have, 9 or 10 blocks. So who's to say? But at the end of the day, man, I just think the Cavs, like I said, I think they had made their minds up. Somewhere along the way, again, I think it started with Richard Jefferson's insertion, but somewhere along the way after that, these dudes just decided, man, that they wasn't going out like that. And a lot of times that also can win you more or come out in your favor far more often than it don't. Just making your mind up, man. And they had made their mind up. And the Warriors, from the way it happened, one could argue that they one-hit wonders. I don't knock or discount 73 regular season wins, but let's be real. The regular season ain't the postseason. And we've all heard it said before that the postseason is a new season. Anything can happen. And it did. You watch Steph, which is unbelievable to me at times. And it's not just him. I see this from a lot of players in the NBA. He seemed to be forcing the action. As I mentioned, the 40.3% again, to be exact, from 3. How is it that you go up 3-1? And again, y'all, we're just talking basketball. And you watching film after every game, and you see that your turnovers are leading to what I think the Cavs average, 20 points off the Warriors' turnovers in transition, fast break points? How you watch film after every game, and you sit there and you see the mistakes that you're making, and you come out and do the same thing? You know what that reminds me of? I'm going back to the NFL again. Brian Hoyer. And I was a fan of Brian Hoyer. I've heard this guy come out in the interview post-game. I can't remember who they had lost to or whatever it is, but he threw 3 interceptions in the game. And he came out and said, I can't do that, man. I got to be better. I got to be more careful with the ball. Okay. You watch film, and he came out the next Sunday and did the same thing. How do you do that? I know, again, that you rely feast or famine on this 3-ball, the Warriors. That's their MO. I get it. But you still can't go away from the fabric of the game. How many twos did the Warriors pass up on the way to shooting them threes? Same thing I said about the Cavs early on. How many threes do you force when there was an open lane to the basket for a possible two? It's unbelievable to me, man. Steph continued to throw the ball behind his back. He had did that a couple of times in the OKC series, and it didn't work. And nothing says it more than the Warriors' conceitedness and their arrogance, even more so their haughtiness. Then with a minute 8, 9, something like that left to go in Game 7, the score tied 89-89 after LeBron's fantastic come-from-behind block and the whole 9. The game was still in the balance. Kyrie comes down and hit a timely shot. That was real timely, too. And I think he should have got the MVP. But, hey, a win is a win, right? Steph comes down and spends 58 seconds of a 24-second shot clock dancing with Kevin Love. And even he himself said that he should have went to the basket. How do you do that? Again, when you've seen film beforehand saying that you shouldn't do that. The Warriors were up 3-1. And I believe, which again, I don't see how this happens. I guess human nature. They took the Cavs lightly. They got to win 4 out of 3, or we only got to win 1 out of 3. Whatever the case may be, they thought they had the Cavs. I get it, the Draymond Green suspension and all of that, and the Bogut hurt and all of that. Would the score have maybe been closer? Possibly. Would the games have been closer? Possibly. Would the outcome have been any different? No. I keep going back to it. Man, you'd be surprised what can happen when you done made your mind up that this ain't about to happen. I don't care how much armor you come with, and I don't care how sweet your skills are or whatnot. You understand what I'm saying? That's that whole adage, you know what I'm saying? You back a rat into a corner, man. You back a wounded animal, he coming out fighting. He ain't going down like that. And on the flip side, I got to say, I think the Cavs coming back from a 3-1 deficit and being the first team in NBA history to do so, make no mistake about it, that falls in line with Jordan's 6, Kobe's 5, Duncan's 5, Bird's 4, Magic's 3, 7, 8, Kareem's 6. It's right there. Because we talking about history. You want to talk about history? 7-3 wins? Yeah, that's history. Duly noted. 72-9? That's history. Duly noted. But in the entire history of the NBA and playoffs, you come back from 3-1, the first team to do that? Well, take your place, young fella. Take your place, because this one was truly earned. I got to say it. It was truly, truly earned. But at the same time, had to be the craziest finals I'd ever seen, man. The way, just this playoffs This NBA playoffs, period. So many blowouts. I hadn't seen so many blowouts. And I'm saying to myself, how is it I'm 30 points better than the team one night, and then minus 30 the next night or the next time? That was unbelievable to me. But you can't deny history. And you can't deny the fact that this is how Cleveland wins. When they do win or when they do have success, it's ugly, so to speak. It's mucked up because Cleveland is just that kind of town. The sexy don't work here. The roll your sleeves up, hard hat, get your feet dirty, get your hands dirty, dig down deep. That's what works in this town. And ultimately, that's how the Cavs prevailed. Going back to the Warriors, I don't know. I think they're done. And I say that because we know that the Spurs, they don't rebuild, they just reload. So we know Pop going to figure something out to add to his interior. You know the Thunder, depending on Durant's situation, they're going to come back for another one because they got a nice roster too. And Billy Donovan did a very good job with them this year, of course, obviously being up 3-1. And that's another thing. The Warriors see what it feel like. You know what I'm saying? If they ain't learned nothing else, they should have learned from that. What is, coming back from a 3-1, being down from 3-1, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Hard head make a soft. Y'all know the rest. But the West ain't going to do nothing but get better, more tougher, more stronger. And I look for them, the Warriors, to make some changes to their front line. Because the points in the paint, again, it's what won it. That's the one thing to me that stands out more than anything else. That ultimately, the Cavs were better closer to the basket than were the Warriors. It don't take a rocket scientist or an ESPN insider to figure that out. And let me not fail to mention, Kyrie, almost similar to what Chris Paul did last year against the Spurs, he hit timely baskets. And I do mean timely baskets. Now, there were some that would say, well, LeBron was better on the defensive end. Yes, I don't disagree with that. He was much better on the defensive end. And defense does win championships. But if you all remember that Spurs Clippers first round, it wasn't that the Clippers defense was bad, nor was the Spurs. It just was reminiscent of a championship boxing match from back in the day where both fighters were good, and it's just, you punch me, I take one, I give one. And that's what this looked like towards the end from my standpoint watching Kyrie. He hit timely shots like Chris Paul did, man, in that Clippers Spurs, man. He hit timely baskets. That's all. Like I said to a friend of mine, I said, man, you go back to that Clippers Spurs last year and you ask yourself, do you remember what Chris Paul didn't do defensively in that series? No. All I know is every time the Spurs, and here's the killer part, it wasn't that the Clippers defense was horrible. It wasn't that it was great. The last 6-7 minutes of that game or that series, the closeout game especially, they made the Spurs work more than normal to get a basket. And the Spurs did. Execution. And then Chris Paul would come down, man, and it just seemed like when he couldn't or they wouldn't, he hit a bam. And they was just trading punches. And Kyrie's effort at the end in Game 7, I mean, throughout the whole, the comeback anyway, because the Cavs had the momentum. After Game 4, they just had the momentum. They took the momentum and they just ran with it. But at that Game 7, man, that dude just hit. he hit timely shot after timely shot after timely shot after timely shot. And you can't argue with that, man. This one was well deserved. And it's good for the city. It truly is. Because I don't think, looking at the turnout from the parade, that any other champion, I mean Yankees, Giants, San Francisco Giants, New York Giants, any other champion, Lakers, I mean, 1 million people? I mean, I always envisioned that if they was to ever win, whoever was going to win. I actually thought the Browns might win one first, believe it or not, or be the first to win one. I figured that whoever was to win one, if they was going to ever win one, they might burn the city down, which they didn't do. I'm grateful for, but unfortunately, it turns out that some folks got shot. You just can't enjoy it to the fullest, right? But 1 million people? I don't care who you are, where you're from, where you're going, where you think you ain't going. That's impressive, man. And it's been a long time coming, man. I just wish my grandfather could have been here to see it, because he was a big Indians and a Cavs fan. He was a Cleveland sports fan anyway, and he turned me on to the Cleveland sports teams when I was 5. We used to watch the baseball games and the football games and the Browns. He taught me all the names of the players and how to read a box score and all that good stuff. But I wish he'd have been here to see it, man. He would have really enjoyed this. But it kind of seems surreal. Still. You got folk walking around here, man, in a daze. And I guess that's what happened after 52 years, right? So at the end of the day, I tip my hat to the Cavs, because this one was truly earned and not given. Congrats, Cleveland. You finally did it. Up next, our 2016 NBA Draft Player Watch, Oakland University's Felder. There are some who say Felder, because of his stature, too short to play in the NBA. I say, you ain't watched this dude play. I get it. Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, all of the popular guys are getting all of the conversation. Felder is 5'9". But if you all know, like I know, what they say, it ain't the size of the dog. Right. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And for all you analytic folks out there, once again, excuse me, all you got to go do is look up this dude's stats and find the ones that actually translate to production, and production consistently. This dude averaged far more points than Ben Simmons. I said Ben Felder. Y'all got to excuse me. It's the coffee. Some are saying that if he was a foot taller, he'd be a number 1 pick. Well, I'm asking you, what that got to do with anything? If you can play, you can play. Put the tape in. That's my motto. That's my mantra, or our mantra. Put the tape in. You look up this guy's numbers, man, and I mean, what can't he do? Yeah. What can't he do? Everything. So where should he go? I don't know. But wherever he go, I'm interested to see. I'm very much interested to see. Dude is the complete player. Unlike the Curry or what's the point guard for Toronto? Oh, yeah, Kyle Lowry. This guy can play with his back to the basket at 5'9". He knows when to post or just show you a post presence and when not to. He doesn't eat, or it's not feast or famine, him facing the basket. He don't spend all day trying to go around you. Should he be a top pick? I think so. Will he be a top pick? Probably not. Because too many people are caught up on how tall a guy is, how small a guy is, how tall a guy ain't, and all that kind of stuff, man. It boggles my mind, man, how we still so caught up in just because you tall don't mean you can ball. Let me say it like that. And just to throw some numbers out here at you, he shot 40% from the field every year in college. He's a junior, by the way. 75% from the free throw line, 2013, 2014 season, and that increased every year thereafter. Last season, 84% from the line at 5'9". Averaged 2 steals a game. And check out this number. 9.3 assists last year he averaged. Yeah, y'all want me to say that again? 9.3 assists per game. Points per game, his first season in Oakland, 2013, 2014, 9.5. His second season, the 2014-2015 season, 18.1. Look at that jump. That's a jump in production. That tells me right there, dude was working on all the stuff that how you increase 9 points better, man, if you ain't putting the work in. And then in his last season, 24.4. Doesn't shoot a lot of threes, don't have to. And I guess by basketball standards, I could even say by NBA standards. You know, from the three, he shot maybe for his career 34%, 34.5%. Now, for some of y'all out there, that might be good. For some of y'all, that might not be that good. But I say at the end of the day, you don't need all of that. Get to the cup. Y'all need to keep your eye on Felder. I don't know if it's possible for the Cavs to get this guy maybe as a backup later on down the line or whatever the case may be. You know, they make some moves because I got a feeling it's going to be a couple of guys. You know, Richard Jefferson retires. It's going to be a couple of guys and a couple roster moves that the Cavs are going to make to solidify and try to make another go at it. But if it's a way to get this guy, man, and put this guy on your bench, it's instant offense and defense. And we all know your second unit doesn't have to be as formidable as your first, but it needs to be able to maintain or increase a lead. Ask the Clippers about Jamal Crawford. And the Cavs about Mo Williams. But the difference being, and we still have yet to see this guy play in the NBA, this guy does it on both ends. All the time, every time. And I'll say this. The NBA definitely is a different animal than college. But you have to have, coming out of college, at least one NBA translatable. For instance, before Kevin Durant came out, when he was at Texas, I said, when a guy asked me, man, how you think he's going to do? I said, look, it's hard to say, man. You got to wait till he get there to see what he's going to be like in his entirety or in his entirety. But I know one thing for certain, that jump shot, it's going to work right away. That's what I mean by translatable. What's the one thing at least? What's the one attribute? And some guys may have more than one, but you got to have at least one attribute that when you go to that next level, it's going to work right off the rip. And for Felder, defense, moxie, can score with anybody. I don't care who you put this guy up against. Matter of fact, against some of the better competitions, I'm talking about your Kentuckys and all of them type of Michigan States, he played even better. Led the NCAA in just about any and every statistical category you could think of. Too many to name them all. Now, that don't mean he's going to be no all-star at the NBA level. But depending on where he go, maybe like a Timberwolves or a Milwaukee Bucks or somebody where, and it's not too many of them, but somebody where they understand what value he brings and can get it out of him right now, not later. Because this whole Ben Simmons deal, I don't see that, and I don't know the coach's LSU's name, but I don't see where the LSU coach kind of put a lid on his game, so to speak, and he going to, blow up at the next level or whatever. But all these comparisons to LeBron, and he comparing him as a shooter, Buddy Hield, for instance, Steph Curry and all of that. Well, I'm telling y'all right now, Buddy Hield, he can't go to his left. And that's an NBA or next level detranslatable. Y'all see. So I'm telling y'all again, the guy you want to keep an eye out on, the guy you want to check out, the guy you want to take a look at is my man K. Felder. Because I guarantee he going to surprise. Well, y'all, it's been fun, but we got to run. Appreciate y'all for listening to the Shop Report. You can check us out on Facebook and Twitter at The Shop Report, or shoot us an email, theshopreport365@gmail.com. And remember, next time you want to know what's really going on, come to the shop, man. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.